Okay, hello everybody. Thank you for attending today's webinar. I'm very happy that you all taking your time to talk with us about mounting opportunities, mounting solutions for your customers. Yeah, at first, to my experience, I'm not sure how many of you attended the last webinar. For all of those that haven't attended, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Robert. I'm an occupational therapist and at the moment sales manager and trainee at Rehadapt Engineering and responsible for all European resellers here. And in that role, it's my major interest to explain you also today's agenda. So what we are going to doing today, or what we are going to watching today, is all about requirements for mounting and expectations for mounting solutions. We're going to repeat a little bit of the differentiations of the wheelchair models that are existing at the moment. Also, I will show you how important it is to choose the right frame clamp and what kind of main role it plays as a foundation for the rest of the mount and also for the success of an installation on the customer's wheelchair. We're going to watch through the different wheelchair mounting bundles. I will show you a lot of customer examples because Hendrik told me you would like to see more examples about how to mount an Indy, an i110, maybe a smartphone, maybe a tablet, maybe an i12 or an i15, or the newer series, the 13 and 16 devices with eye gaze, and hope to give you a little bit of an insight. What are the differences that will come up in your daily routines? And last but not least, we are going to talking about the M3D service kit and how I think, or we believe, it keeps your back free in that difficult situations. So this is the agenda. The main goal for you today is just understand the differences in wheelchairs, differences in expectations from your customer sides, and guiding you into an easier way of planning of a mounting solution for a customer. And last but not least, Henrik will tell you also a little bit of the VMS service. I hope that is a good start for our presentation today, and will give you a good general overview about these issues with the Permobil C400. Good, that's the first. I would like to start with you with the requirements for a mounting solution. You all know it needs to be guarantee that the communication device is accessible in all environments where your customer is. On today's presentation, we will focusing most into the wheelchair installations, but you all know that there are also other requirements and also other situations where it is important to have your communication system positioned properly and ergonomically. And also on the other hand, it must be flexible to adjust, safe as possible so that your customer don't need to be feared that his device is dropping down, stable enough, secure and strong that it stays permanently into that spot. And the Tobii devices, for example with eye tracking, they have a huge tolerance for internal movements in terms of your customer, but they still need to have or to keep the right distance between the customer face and the screen of the eye device. And you know how important it is for your customer that it stays always in the same spot. And it also needs to be nice to look at it, because otherwise when it looks bulky, nobody wants to use it. So, and that's the starting point where it is a little bit difficult to say we want to have one solution for one device for a customer, because every customer at first is very unique. Not every customer with a cerebral palsy has the same motor control skills and cognitive skills like the other ones. Also, a customer with ALS can have totally different requirements into a mounting installation. And for that, I have presented you last time our starting point, where I think it is good during an assessment to ask yourself these 5 questions. Who will use a communication device? What kind of communication device is it? And what is the access method? Where will it be used? When will it be used? And why? For what reason? So this starting point can help you to write yourself down and just an overview about your customer and about the customer situation, and also help you into think about in the right way about all the components that you will need to make the mounting installation on a wheelchair successful for your customer, because the easiest way was never the best. And I think that's a starting point. I think all of you know that it is extremely easy to give a customer a tabletop solution or a floor stand. And for most of the people, it stops or it ends there on that spot where they say, as long as the customer has a tabletop solution and the floor stand, he has all the tools that he needs to use his communication device. But as soon as your customer wants to go outside, let's imagine a situation with a kid in a school. All kids go into the lunch break outside, into the canteen or out of the school area where they can play together. Then nobody would ever carry the tabletop mount or the floor stand next to the customer's wheelchair. That never will happen. And I think that's the reason why I will show you today a lot of things more about how to choose the right tools for a C400 wheelchair, and also if it is necessary to adapt the accessing method on that wheelchair or to combine it with some very, very helpful little components, also to install tablets or smartphones to your customers' chairs. Also, everything with the goal to keep the communication device and the language system always available for your customers, guarantee and 24/7 concept access for your customer. And for that, we are needing also the right mounting solution to guarantee also that access. So the challenge at first is always the same. What is the communication system that your customer going to be used? Is it an eye gaze device, an i12, or maybe an older device, maybe an C12 or an iSeries Plus 15 or an older iSeries 15? Is it an iPad and a speech case? Is it a mobile phone? It doesn't matter. We need to bring all of these devices to the customer's wheelchair. And maybe you remember from last week's presentation, the starting point is always the same. It starts on your wheelchair and it ends up on your communication device and on that spot where your customer can use his device as best as possible. And to connect these 2 points, we need only a couple of lines and a couple of spots that represent the mounting components that hold the device always there without distracting functionalities of the wheelchair, which is extremely important because a lot of wheelchairs are different. Some of them have lap trays, some of them have standing functionalities, some of them have movable footrests. So this is one thing that we need to think about. When we want to choose the right tool for these communication devices from that first beginning challenge, we need to understand the load capacities on one side. So a very light device like a smartphone or an iPad could be perfectly installed with an M3D mount, which can hold up to 1.25 kilogram. When it needs to be a little bit more sturdy or a little bit more stable, the H3D mount provides you 1.8 kilogram load capacity. An M3D mount up to 3 kilogram, and when it needs to be resistant against vibrations or it is there an even more heavier device, then the HD solutions are something that you can think about. So this is a general overview only orientated onto the load capacities, but also there, every customer is a little bit wheelchair. And I know for all of you that watched the last presentations, then you may remember that we have 5 different standard groups of pre-configured mounting bundles out of these 4 different groups. We have the typical standard mounts, we have the eye control mounts with a more stable double tube base. We have the fold down mounts if there is any folding movement necessary. We have the short mounts only with 1 or 2 tubes, which are good for only very short installations on walkers or strollers, or when it comes to mount a switch or a smartphone. And we have at last the curved mounts. And all of these standard things I will show you later in the presentation in the different customer examples where a C400 is the basic wheelchair that's getting used. So, but at first, we need to understand the differences. And as you can see here, Bart Simpson is writing you, there is no all copy and paste possible when it comes to installations of mounting solutions because every wheelchair is a little bit different. Some of them have a seating functionality that can be height adjusted. Some of them are absolutely standard. Some of them, as you can see here on that right pictures, have a very, very, very small seating configuration for a small kid. And also when you look on these three chairs, the base in below is always the same, but the seat is a little bit different, the armrests are a little bit different, the connection interface is a little bit different. And you need to pay attention for that, because otherwise your mounting installation will fail. And also there, we have different kind of opportunities. I have checked in our VMS database what kind of frame clamps we have used most of the time for the wheelchair C400. And one wheelchair frame clamp that was getting used a lot was the one that you can see here in the middle. This is the T-nut frame clamp, RKL M8. Sorry, not RKL M8. It is the Permobil Unitrack T-nut frame clamp. And also the other one, sorry for that little mistake, the other one is the one that is called RKL M8, which is a plate with the installed adapter ring on it that can be easily attached to rectangular tubes where you have a couple of existing holes. So these are the two most important frame clamps that we mostly use with the Permobil C400, depending on the structure that the wheelchair provides. But also there, the attaching system is only one challenge. Choose the right frame clamp. But you also need to watch very, very clear and very, very good into what are other additional components that are connected to the wheelchair. You can see here, there is a lab tray, and you will see also in the customer examples, a lot of customers using these kind of trays. Also, some of the wheelchairs, especially when there are some scoliosis in their spine, needs to have custom-made seating constructions with belts to hold them there in the right spot. Also, some of the C400s can provide a standing feature, and the standing feature has a lifting and changing angle situation on the seating plate, which you need definitely to pay attention for, because otherwise, when you install the bracket onto the seating plate and the customer goes into a standing position, it may happen that it has a changing movement onto your existing mounting apparatus. So these are the things that you need to understand. These are the natural differences that the wheelchair provides for us. And I think the key role for all the further installations is always begins with the frame clamp. And for that, you will find on our YouTube channel our Mounting Made Easy videos about how to assemble the right frame clamp.
Hi and welcome to
today's episode of
Mounting Made Easy.
Ja.
So, and I think if you want to learn more about these different kind of frame clamps, just follow the link here and below. I send you the presentation afterwards, or Henrik will send you the presentation afterwards as a PDF, and you can watch the videos about assembling a M3D, getting the perfect match, do the right measurement, or choose the right frame clamp. You can watch this by your own, I think, later afterwards the presentation to learn more about it. I think this is very, very helpful also for your work. Okay, so we have here some construction examples on the Permobil C400, and these different 3 types of wheelchairs that can happen in your daily routines. Is there a chair that you have already seen? Please write it into the chat window. I would like to see if this is a chair that you have to face at the moment. And I would like to see what is the frame clamp that you are using, or what are the systems that you are using and when you want to mount here on that type of a wheelchair. Please write it into the chat window. I invite you to give me a little bit of a feedback about that. Because it helps me to understand more the point of your knowledge level where you are at the moment.
Fick alla med sig det? Här vill han ha förslag på basen som sitter in, som man sätter på själva, eller ja, hur man fäster på själva rullstolen. Ifall det är någon som har någon kommentar där, vad man kan bruka och så vidare.
Okay, you can just write it later into the chat window. I go ahead and we'll show you now a couple of customer construction examples that you will see. So this is the actual situation of a customer request that we have received. The customer is using, as you can see here, the left wheelchair. So what are the things that you see right now here? We see that they are attached to the armrests. There is a tray. The silver pole upstairs in the middle shows you that there will be a lap tray that is installed. You also see the frame under the seating plate owes a couple of threaded holes where we're not having, or where we're not seeing, any T-rail system to attach a T-nut stone frame clamp. And on the right side, you see that there is an iPad Pro that should be installed here to that wheelchair of your customer. And now, have a look on that left picture. Do you see these little attaching holes? And what do you think is here the right frame clamp for that wheelchair? Do you see the attaching spot? If not, this would be the possible attaching point for the frame clamp. These are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different threaded holes where we could easily install the Permobil frame clamp. And this would it be. This is the Rehadapt frame clamp that can be installed with a couple of bolts here to that wheelchair. And when it comes to mounting an iPad, what would be the system, what you would install? This is a little quiz. What do you think for a light device like an iPad? We had previously the presentation about the different load capacities. So what do you think, what would you choose for installing an iPad Pro to that wheelchair? Would it be an L3D with 1, 2, or 3 tubes? Would it be an H3D with 3 tubes? Would you choose a heavy-duty mount? Or what else would you choose for that customer? Think about that question, please. And now, when you have made your decision, I tell you what I would recommend for that customer, because this would be our personal suggestion. We would suggest the RKL Rehadapt, and we would choose a 3-tube mounting bracket out of our L3D product line. It consists of a first tube at the beginning that goes straight forward into a good right angle that comes up with the swivel unit in front of the table of the wheelchair, and also the right adapter plate for that iPad. And that would look like this picture as you can see it here. So the vertical tube that comes from the swivel unit upwards and connects the horizontal tube with the adapter cradle connects perfectly the wheelchair. If the customer needs to go out of this chair, you can easily open the swivel unit, remove the iPad and the 2 last arms, and can fold the lap tray from your wheelchair away to the side. So this would be one solution. Another solution, we have the same iPad and we have another C400 wheelchair. A question for you. What do you think is for that wheelchair the right frame clamp? Do you think it is again the Rehadapt, or do you think it's the Permobil Unitrack rail system? And what do you think, what could be here the right mounting bracket for that customer? Is it an L3D, an H3D, or an M3D? Think about that question. The attaching point is that one. There we see a rail system. It is covered at the moment into the front from a little plastic cap that you can easily remove and plug in the T-nut stones and connect it with the Rehadapt adapter ring. This is the frame clamp. And now you see our suggestion, and that would be again exactly the same like we have chosen it on that previous wheelchair. It is again an L3D wheelchair mount with 3 tubes, because also here you see that there is a lap tray installed. You also see that there is a different kind of a frame clamp. So it's the same mounting arm like in the previous solution, but only another frame clamp. So this is the differentiation. These are the things that you see in real life and that guide you through the process in choosing the right mounting bracket for your customer. This is the next solution. This is the next customer request. Here we have again a customer with a C400. Take a look on that bracket under the seating plate. There you see there is again the Permobil unit track rail system. And now the challenge is, how can we bring, with what kind of mounting solution, the i110, which is a little bit more heavier than an iPad, to the wheelchair? What is the right frame clamp? And again, if it is a unitrack rail system, use the unitrack frame clamp. And please pay enough attention in the lap tray. So a lot of customers, when they are doing the assessments, not having the lap tray installed to their wheelchair, and when you want to do the installation afterwards, they're surprising you and saying, yeah, here, I forgot to tell you I have a lap tray here on my wheelchair, which can make you make your hair a little bit grayer from that stress, because when there is a lap tray, it could have a negative effect into the length, into the total length that you have chosen on your configuration for your mounting bracket. So the lap tray, ask every customer when they are not having a lap tray attached to their wheelchair if they're having one. And this would be our suggestion. Maybe you remember from our last presentation from a couple of weeks ago, the M3D mount is a typical standard mounting bracket that combines the basic 22mm tube from an M3D mount and two 16mm L3D tubes in combination. So we have a stable base. We also see here that there is a base coupler, because a very, very long tube at the beginning on the foundation can have a negative influence into transferring the customer out of the chair to the bed. And then you want to make sure that you can easily remove all the components without opening a single bolt and therefore, or out of that, changing the setup. So the base coupler, the M3D mount, and the M3D Permobil unitrack frame clamp are here the things that we have chosen here for that customer wheelchair. Would you choose the same for that customer? What would you choose if you had the chance? Would you go for a more stable solution? Would you go for an M3D? Or what are your things about that? I would like to know that. Please write it into the chat window, mark it with M3D customer, please, and let me know what you're thinking about with that customer. Okay, the next example shows up a customer again with a C400 Permobil wheelchair, but he wants to use an older device, an C12. And I know from Hendrik, and also we have here in Germany, for example, the situation that the healthcare insurance is paying for the AAC devices and renting or loaning the devices to customers as long as they need them. And if a customer don't needs the device anymore, they taking it back in the warehouse, disinfecting it. And when another patient needs them, they getting or they loaning them him a used device. So in C12 could also be a device, or in C15 or an I15 that you see in your real practical work in your daily routines. Also here, what do you think? What could be here the right frame clamp for that wheelchair? A question to you. Are you seeing the frame clamp? Are you seeing a possible attaching spot? What do you see? Is there a rail system, or are there some threaded holes? I see there on that attaching point the typical T-nut rail system. Again, that shows me I need the frame clamp rad per uni. sorry, Permobil Unitrack. I'm sorry for taking, their names are so close to each other. Permobil Unitrack would be the right frame clamp. And we would use for an eye gaze system most of the time the HD heavy duty eye gaze mount, which is more sturdy, more stable, the double tubes on the base, reducing vibration significantly, and you can also mount it on the left and on the right side, very, very universal due to the rotation lock base. We have combined that for this customer together with an M3D base coupler for a quick removable option on the base components. So this would be our suggestion. You see, same frame clamp like on a couple of wheelchairs, but only a different mounting model for that customer. And here you can see the next communication device. Here we're talking about an iMobile Plus that needs to be installed also again to a C400. On the position that you can see here on the left side, very close to the customer, and on the left side. We have chosen here for that customer again the Permobil Unitrack frame clamp on the rail system on that chair, because it also follows in that direction of tilting, and have chosen again here the same configuration like on that previous mount, here with a double tube construction, with a base coupler, and a very, very stable solution, but only with a little bit of shorter tubes at the end, because the customer don't need that extremely long length. And the standard configuration of a H3D mount would always provide you a total length of 1.50 meters. If you need less length, you should reduce the length of your mounting tubes. But it could also be that your customer don't want to have these long-looking double tube base on the beginning. And as I showed you in the general overview of a possible other mounting brackets as a solution or mounting configurations, we also provide a curved mounting solution. The frame clamp and the attaching spot is still the same, Permobil Unitrack frame clamp, and we are combining it here with an M3D curved L configuration. I choose here for that customer, or I prefer to choose the M3D curved solution because it owes on the swivel unit a rotation lock feature, which makes it universal to install on the left and on the right side without being feared that it is tipping over due to the left side rotation of your bolt. Another construction example shows you here the actual I-series devices, an i13 or an i16 that should be installed here to the wheelchair. Again, the question to you guys, what do you think? What is here the right frame clamp? What is here the right attaching frame clamp? And what is here the right mounting bundle that you would choose? What do you have in mind? Think about that. Would it be a Rad Per Uni, or would it be a Permobil Unitrack? Exactly, it is the second one. And this is the possible attaching spot, and we can combine it easily with a double tube base here with a very, very stable mounting solution here with an HDI control mount. Okay, let's stop to talk about all these heavier devices. Let's focus into very, very light devices. I know a lot of you as consultants or as Help Middle Central technicians, you see a lot of different customers, and you also see that a lot of them have different needs. And all of you know how important it is to have your smartphone always in the right accessible spot where you can get calls, where you can call somebody, where you can receive messages, where you can use social media and all of that stuff. But the wheelchair where your customer is again the Permobil C400. Also here, what do you think would be the frame clamp? Okay, I know the picture here is a little bit dark and it is a little bit difficult to see the frame clamp or the frame under the seat, but in real life, I think you will see it definitely better. Also here, same attaching point like the other ones, Permobil Unitrack. And what do you think? What kind of mounting solution would you use for a smartphone? Would you go with an L3D light mounting solution or with a hybrid? Would you choose a super clamp or a permanently frame clamp construction? All of these things are questions that customer will ask you. And how can you guarantee that when your customer is using his smartphone and change the smartphone later, that they can still again reuse their existing mounting bracket? I show you a solution, the L3D 3-tube standard mounting solution in a combination with a Permobil Unitrack is the mounting bracket for exactly that customer case. And the L3D universal phone holder would be one possible mounting bracket, which is very, very universal for these kind of customer groups. And I hope you can see me in the video. I'm not sure, can you see me in the video? I hope so. If not,
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so you can see here, for example, the universal phone holder where my red smartphone is inside. It provides two brackets from the left and from the right side that are spring loaded, so you can open them and close them. And this smartphone holder is therefore able to be used for all different kind of smartphones between 50 millimeters and up to 95 millimeters. And when you're looking onto the product development time from, for example, Apple and their iPhones, they're changing their iPhones every year. And there are some technical addicted customers that also want to go with that development step, that want to have all year long or every year again the next smartphone. And this universal phone holder would be a possible solution for the next years for them, because it will hold the smartphone definitely in that right spot and will also grow with the smartphones. Another example of a smartphone installation, you can see here a young lady that is already using a 2-tube solution on her Permobil C400. So she's having a connected Turbidynavox mounting bracket in combination with a tablet-based device. And her interest was to have also there her smartphone on a higher position. So here again, do we need now for that customer a new frame clamp? Should we now also again install a new frame clamp to that wheelchair, or can we only just combine a couple of joints to the existing components? And this is what we have done. We have chosen a 22 to 16 millimeter universal joint that is connected to the upper outstanding part of the vertical tube. We have combined it with a 16 millimeter, 20 centimeter tube with two additional joints and one tube, and at last with a universal phone holder. And this could be a combination for a customer. This would be a solution on a Permobil C400 to add some extra more components to an existing mount, but to have the greatest value out of that in terms of independent communication for that customer. So these would be only a couple of suggestions. Also here, this is the last example. I hope I don't bore you with all of that. Many examples. This would be a Turbidynavox speech case in combination with an iPad. I think it's yeah, it's an iPad. I'm not sure what kind of series it was. And also here, the customer wants to have it on the left side. The requirement from the customer side was in terms of it must be installed on the left side, and in terms of a lot of uncontrolled movement, that we need to have a very, very, very stable base. So an iPad. When I think about the mounting bracket for an iPad, the first mounting standard solution that comes in my mind would be, oh, I would choose an L3D mount. It is just a light device. But now I have in mind, he has a lot of uncontrolled movements. So maybe I go with a little bit more stable solution and build also the base a little bit more stable. That means it guides me into the direction of an M3D mount. More stability is required. And also when you're looking on the frame clamp there and on the frame construction, we see again, I hope you can see it here, the Unitrack rail system. And the Unitrack rail system says, I need the frame clamp for the Unitrack. What we have suggested here for exactly that customer is a little bit of a wild combination. You can do that. It costs a little bit more material or needs a little bit more material on the base to choose two Permobil unitrack frame clamps and two bases in combination with an M3D eye control mount. This could be something what can be done when you want to mount on the left side and want to prevent it from the self-opening effect in terms of a left side rotation load. I hope that makes sense. If not, please give me a sign and I explain it a little bit better. But this is a solution. It is also easier when you are having a customer that has always the constant problem that he has installed everything on the left side, and every time when he's pushing on the fields and the mount is moving downwards, that you can combine the base with a base special with a rotation lock feature. There you have here this little rotation lock pin that keeps the base permanently fixed. Also on the left side, also when it comes to a left side mounting. Please just keep that in mind. It doesn't change big things on the pre-configuration of your bundle and also not on your frame clamp that you need to install. But I think all of these examples show you the beginning slide. Every customer is individual. Every customer needs are a little bit individual. The same things are mostly the frame clamps, unitrack, or Rad per Uni, and different are sometimes the pre-configured bundle that you use for that customer. Okay, now we imagine the following situation. You have configured for your customer a wheelchair. He had a Permobil C4 on the moment when you did the assessment. And then you're getting back for the installation to your customer. You want to install the components, and now you realize, oh, he has received a new wheelchair. Or you realized he didn't told you that he had a lap tray. And now you realize the following: the tubes are too long, the tubes are too short, whatever it is, or you have the wrong frame clamp. That will mean, in most of the time in real life, that when you are having the wrong parts or too short parts, that would mean you will need to get back into your car, you need to drive back to your help metal central, you need to order again a couple of components, you need to wait for them, you need to travel back to your customer and need to do the installation again to make him independent. That sounds like a lot of time, that sounds like a lot of wasted money and a lot of also wasted time for customers that again need to wait to have their AAC tool available. And there was a reason to design a service kit, which is the MacGyver of all Rehadapt kits that we have. And I think everybody that is doing installation together with customers and that facing exactly that example challenge will be extremely happy to have one of these kits inside. What do you find in that box? You find a lot of measurement tools, a lot of tools that you need to do the adjustments, to do service. You will find a clear manual that explains you everything. You will also find inside in that little light and transportable box all the components that you need to solve exactly that problem that I have explained to you previously. What is inside? You find in one area 8 different tubes, 2 with 20 centimeter length, 2 with 30 centimeter length, 2 with 40, 1 with 50, and if you need a little bit more length, you also find there one 60 centimeter tube. So if you see the tubes are too long or too short, open your bag, take another rod, put it inside and make it work smoothly for your customer. In other area, you will find 2 adapter rings as base for all these rail systems. So if your customer had on the assessment day an Invacare TDX wheelchair, and when you do the installation, he has a Permobil C400, you will find inside all necessary T-nut stones that are existing or available that you need to do your job. Also with a couple of bolts in different lengths to exactly do there the installation. And this is the major role when you want to mount onto a rail system. You can then, when you have the wrong T-nut stones, you open your box, take out of your right T-nut stone, put it inside, fix it, and then the job is done. Also, you will find inside a 90 degrees adapter, which is a very, very nice tool, especially then when you're having a wrong starting point. On the right picture here, you can see this is an example of a wheelchair from, I think it was from Sunrise Medical, and they only had 2 flat plates next to the seat where we needed to take 2 rectangular mounting plates from the frame clamp RKL E3070, but there we had a horrible starting point for the first tube, and there we needed a little bit more angled, higher angled position for the swivel unit. With the base adapter about 90 degrees, you come up from a horizontal alignment into a vertical alignment and have there also the chance to adjust the angle. This is inside. You will find inside the RKL Uni. You remember from the previous slides, we used that frame clamp a couple of times on wheelchairs. We also find inside 2 round frame clamps with 25mm and 30mm. Also inside are a couple of sleeves. If you're finding a round tube, which is covered a little bit, you also find there a 25mm semi-open frame clamp, which I should tell you that is important not to be used in combination with that sleeves that you see here on the right picture, because otherwise there is a risk that the frame clamp will rotate. Also inside is a replacement kit to replace the quick shift lever of a swivel unit. And as technicians, you know that you're seeing a lot of customers that handling or sometimes also adjusting the mounting components wrong. And then when the quick shift lever is broken, it is sometimes, it needs a little bit more time to order it and to have it there. If you have it in your bag, you just only take it out of your bag, replace it, and the job is done. You will find about the following link that you can see here under the example of the quick shift lever, also a video about how to replace the quick shift lever, which is available on our YouTube channel. As another frame clamp for also holes on the frame, you will find inside the RKL M8 Mini, which also can be attached on the safety bolt connection points on wheelchairs, but this is something that only the special wheelchair service providers should do. This is nothing that we would generally would recommend for you. You will find inside there some spacers, a 1-inch spacer and then a 1.5-inch spacer if you need to go a little bit more outside from a frame clamp if necessary, that you can also combine if there is a need for. And you have the 2 rectangular frame clamps, E30 and E3070. And with these frame clamps, these are the real MacGyver frame clamps into the MacGyver M3D service kit, because these kind of a frame clamp you can add almost to oval tubes, to rectangular tubes, to round tubes that have it connecting position, like you can see it here on that blue colored frame examples here, which are very, very nice frame clamps. And I know in most of the situations where you think you can install anything there, believe me, with a lot of situations, the problem can be solved with that kind of frame clamp. Also inside are a universal joint with a quick shift lever and a bolt version of it. If the universal joint could be damaged after a time. You will also find inside there some slip-out safeguards as a replacement part if you are feared that the customers will opening the joint unallowed and the tubes will slip through. Some replacement feet for table stands like the TSXL. And you will also find inside there some grease and alcohol swipes. Imagine the situation, you're going to your customer and they're telling you, I have tightened up the bolt or the quick shift lever, but the clamping force is never good enough to keep all the components there. If after a long time of use, the threads from a bolt are damaged or are dirty, or there are some components that are missing, it has an over 30% reducing clamping effect on a joint component. So take an alcohol swipe, disinfect the bolt threads, control them if there are some damaged positions on it or some damaged threads, and replace the bolt, and use the grease on that bolts, because that will reduce the threading inside, or when you're screwing into the threads, the threaded holes of a joint, significantly the rotation movement there inside, and will make it easier to tighten up bolts. So I think that was a short overview about installation on Permobil C400s. What are the things that you need to think about? So I hope the outcome for you is very clear. Every customer is individual. Every C400 can be individual. You have seen there are two different kinds of mostly used frame clamps, the Peroni or the C400. And depending on the device position, you can choose a standard mount, a curved, an eye-controlled, a short, or a fold-down mount. It depends on your customer needs. So I hope that was a general good overview for you. In terms of you having any questions, I would be extremely happy to discuss all of these questions. If you have any feedback about the presentation, about the things that you expected different or would like to learn different, or if I also maybe totally forgot to talk about something, just let me know about your expectations. Write it into the chat window. I'm not sure if you can activate your microphone. This is something what only Hendrik, I think, can activate, or show up a sign if you want to have any questions that we can answer you right now. So thank you very much, all of you, for your time, and I hope to see all of you very soon again.